whoever is going to assist you can immediately follow on you. Over to you, MEC.
Thank you very much, Chair. Greetings to co-chairs and greetings to all the honorable members of this Ad Hoc Committee. Greetings to the Premier, MECs present here, the leadership of eThekwini, led by Councillor Kaunda, and the officials present, led by the DG and all other HODs. On a lighter note, you see, the reason why I was outside when we were eating, Honorable Zigalala, he advised me that I must call my wife maybe 3 times a day. So I adhered to that call, that's why I was outside. Yes, he was giving me a big brother's advice. So thank you very much, cousin. Without taking much of your time, as Ungolosi come closer, because he is going to present, I think ours will be very brief because it will be a repetition. Most of the things have been covered. But I think maybe before we proceed, I want to say during the course of this work that we are here for, one of the employees of the department was murdered while coming from, I think, they were busy trying to sort out these things of getting land for where we can utilize, and then I'm trying to get the exact information. Yes, he was coming from Tuzuma on the 4th of August. So I would request that maybe if you can rise just to observe a moment of silence. No, thank you. Honorable members, I want to say one, there has been a lot of progress that has been made in terms of erecting structures. Without repeating what has been said, but the main challenges has been the availability of land, and also the weather conditions, and also looking at the challenges of some of the property owners who are not amenable to people or erecting structures behind their properties, because they said it devalues their properties. So that is part of the challenges. But having said that, one of the things that we decided that we'll focus on is to deal with the turnaround time, because we understand that as people stay longer in these halls, churches, these mass centers, they will end up being frustrated, and you end up getting a lot of commotion out in them. So one of the priorities that we've set, as you will see from the presentation, is that we want to increase the turnaround time and make sure that as quick as possible we remove our people from these mass centers. But the main aim is to make sure that they get permanent structures, not TRUs. Because as Councillor Kaunda properly put it, you can build TRUs and then few months later you need to come again and put a permanent structure. I think that with the assistance also from the Department of Public Works in terms of unlocking land, that will assist us to make sure that we go straight and build permanent structures. Having said that, Honorable Chair, I would like to invite Ungolosi, Mr. Pengu, to come and do the presentation. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable MSC. Good afternoon to the Premier and other honorable members that are here. As stated, this is a very short presentation just outlining the delivery on human settlements in response to the floods. And I must say upfront that I'm happy that what we are saying fully aligns with what was presented by Provincial Disaster Management earlier on and presented by eThekwini. So ours is just to give a provincial picture on it. Contents, we were going to speak on the delivery against the impact, and possibly the addition that we wanted to speak on are the timelines and then the alternative solutions that are being explored. This is the battery of remedies that we are offering as human settlements. It's provision of TRUs, also building material supply. And because of the time, we are now also getting some beneficiaries that we are moving to permanent housing, where we are able to link them with permanent projects. We had received 325 million approval from the Provincial Emergency Housing Grant to be able to assist with a building of temporary residential units. That amount of 325 million is in addition to other funds that were responding to the previous disasters, knowing that we had disasters almost every 2 years, from 2017 to 2019 and now 2022. And as you see this in this slide, those are the amounts that had been allocated to respond to the previous disasters. DCM in eThekwini had spoken in detail about this slide. What we are reporting to honorable members is that as at yesterday, we are now at 1,015 temporary residential units delivered province-wide. And coincidentally, we had the very first TRU delivered on the 22nd of April, which was like 10 days after the floods. So from TRU number 1 on the 22nd of April to TRU number 1015 on the 22nd of August, almost in 4 months. Expenditure side, we are at 49.4 million, and there are other invoices of about 1.8. But if you look at 1,015 TRUs, it means the value on the ground is now approaching 60 million. This is responding to where we had already found sites to build on, whilst all the land assembly process is being generated. The spread, as you will see it, as to where those TRUs have been delivered. The leader in this case, it's Ilembe, where we are now at 359 units, and then other districts with smaller numbers. This is the further breakdown, and now giving the detailed stages. What it shows in the slide is that whilst we have built 1,015 TRUs in the province, but we are already active in 1,128 active spaces, but it's just that other parts are work in progress, cutting platforms, putting slabs, and so on. Moving to mass care centers, the situation is presented. We are now at 92 in total as at yesterday, but the report confirmed that eThekwini, the mass care centers have dropped from 80, I think, to 71 or 73, which then means in total we now close just below 90, I think about 83 or so, total number of mass care centers. 71 of them are in eThekwini. There's only one in Umsunduzi, and then there's 11 in KwaDuguza. But the noticeable thing is that all 83 or 92 mass care centers or shelters have been linked to land parcels. So if we go to a hall, we are able to tell those people that as you are in this hall, this is where you will go. It's just that the land parcels themselves are at different stages of readiness. Actually, the late Mr. Kele, this is the work that he was doing when he was gunned down at Ntuzuma, communicating to people in the halls to say, we know you are here, this is where you will go, and these are the timelines that will be happening. So we have those in 3 stages. The 3 land parcels are now at site clearance stage. I'll show the details later on. 5 are at pre-award audit, and then 23 are at detailed planning, and then 44 are still at circulation and assessment. But in addition to that, we are also pursuing the acquisition of properties. One is the Montclair Lodge that is being discussed, and HDA is helping us with other properties that were used for student housing and so on to explore other solutions. With regard to Lamesi land, we have secured all necessary approvals. HOT has confirmed that as at today, we now have a sale agreement with us. We just need to sign, and then that sale is then concluded. This is just the status on the mass care centers or shelters, as I explained earlier on. What is also underreported is the fact that whilst eThekwini is now at 71 mass care centers, we are moving from 120. So almost a third of centers have been closed down. And it's like everybody is still in the shelters, but the reality is that 1/3 of the shelters have closed down. In Uku, all shelters have closed completely, and then in Umsunduzi, we still have got 1 shelter. And the solution that is being provided largely is material supply, and sometimes the rationalization of centers, and also the data cleansing was helping with us with this, and so is sometimes provision of TRUs. So when we come to eThekwini specifically, which was the impact point of the disaster, these are the 3 land parcels that yesterday we did not only do the letters of awards, but we had the breaking the ground, doing the site handovers to the 3 contractors. They are giving us 317 TRUs at Ntuzuma A, at Reservoir Hills, and at Rudecrans. Those are the 3 sites where we are now ready, and we started the work as at yesterday. At Reservoir Hills, they are still cutting platforms. As the mayor had stated, we are still exploring the possibility of switching straight to a permanent unit, because the DBSA funding that Mr. Ngema spoke about, 80 of the houses in Reservoir Hills will be coming from DBSA. So it means in that site, we have money for TRUs, but we already have money for permanent houses. And we say, let's conclude the platforms and move to a permanent house. 557 TRUs in these 5 sites will be coming on stream. So in total, our estimate is that at least by Monday next week, we shall have more than 1,000 sites in eThekwini to build on. It's the 317 plus the 757 that you see in the slide. But these ones are dependent on the concurrence by our provincial treasury on the pre-award audit. If they say we have procured correctly, they give us a nod, then we can get the 557. But if we, 757, sorry, but if we fail in that exercise, it will then cause us to restart the procurement again. So based on this, we are saying it's time that we also look at other options, not only building TRUs. One, the issue of land availability seems to be the issue. That is buildable, land that is buildable, and people that don't want to move away from where they have been working. Anything above 5 kilometers, people don't want to go there. We're also getting objections from ratepayers. The NIMBY, not in my backyard, people who say, yes, this is a good idea, but don't do it here. Go do it there, and so on. And then also sometimes the inclement weather that's been stopping us from building every now and then. But also the understanding that the TRUs and material supply is not the only solution. There are still people that have got specific requests where maybe a different solution needs to be explored. And then again, understanding that any construction-based solution will take time to be explored. So what are the new proposals that we are putting forward for consideration by principals in addition to TRUs? We are coining something called a RAS, a rental assistance scheme, where some of the people that are in shelters can then get a rental subsidy to go and sort themselves in terms of paying rent using the portion of the money that they had. The second one is called a transitional emergency accommodation. This is where we are looking at properties like student housing and transient properties and all other buildings that exist, and then we use them as transitional emergency accommodation facilities. So those are the 2 that are like coming on stream and now in the last stages of final approvals. Members have requested that we speak on the timelines. We are expecting 1,024 TRUs at least in the next 3 months in addition, And if we don't implement the other two solutions, 2,600 TRUs will be in about February next year. But we can move all these people by November if we use the RAS and the TEA accommodation solution. That is what we are putting before the House. This is a typical TRU, maybe if members had not seen it. So there is now 1,015 of these in the province, in different parts of the province. That is how they look. It's 30 square meters, and it's 2-room inside. Then lastly, I was requested to respond to the 3 points that members had raised during their last visit at Umlalazi. The first one was the issue of land accessibility in traditional authority areas, which appeared to be a problem in Umlalazi. And we are reporting here that since then, we have built 35 TRUs in Umlalazi, and the 3 projects that were a challenge during your last visit. One is called Ndangubo, the other one was called Mfuzane, I think the other one was called Nzuza. All those 3 have now been approved. 2 of them we are already implementing, and 1 of them we are still at contracting stage. The issue which we think members wanted to raise, there was an issue with the ITB signing what is called a development rights agreement on time. This was because of the lack of the delegations on their side, and now they started to come on board. The second query that was raised in Umlalazi was the issue of the families at Truro Hall in Msunduzi, which is the only facility, and those at Mpofana and Richmond. Mr. Ngema responded also to this one. We are reporting that, yes, unfortunately, we still have got that one facility called Truro Hall in Msunduzi. We had a contractor to start contracting TRUs on the 7th of July in Northdale in Pietermaritzburg. However, the following day, which was the 8th, we had the community led by the ward councillor objecting to the construction of TRUs in their neighborhood, and then the contractor had to withdraw, and then as a result, those 8 families are still in the hall as there are negotiations and facilitation as to where they will eventually go, or also speaking to the ward councillor and community for them to accept these 8 families in their neighborhood. The status in the municipalities of Ngungundlovu is as stated below. The last one, the question was saying that last time during your visit, we had delivered 385 units, and where are we by now? And the answer is that, yes, we had 385 units back then, and today we are at 1,015 units delivered as per the breakdown that is given here. So we request that members note the progress where we are at 1,015 units now. The 315 TRUs are at clearance stages in eThekwini, and also that all mass care centers in Oku have closed, and even in eThekwini we have now had a reduction of almost 1/3 from 121 to about 80, and also requesting members to note that the land acquisition is now at advanced stage in Lamesi, and also that we are exploring those 2 schemes so that we don't only build TRUs. One is the rental assistance scheme, and the other one is the temporary transitional emergency accommodation using existing buildings. We believe that those 2 solutions will then take more numbers out of the halls. Thank you very much.
No, thank you very much for that input. The next MEC that's supposed to be on the program is MEC of Economic Development, Honorable Duma, but we've received the apology because he's busy with other official business with the relevant minister that he's meeting with. I will now ask if there is a specific presentation on economic development, especially small business, that the provincial government want us to take note of. Will you come to the front, sir? Please. Yes.
Thank you, Chairperson. Greetings to the leadership. Greetings, all protocol observed. My name is Cedric Mngoni. I'm from Small Enterprise Development Agency. We are currently running 2 flood relief schemes. One of the schemes is for formal businesses with a budget of 50 million rand. The other scheme is for informal traders, which is budgeted for 10 million rand. Just an executive summary on the applications that have been received. This scheme is oversubscribed. We are sitting at 457 applications with a value of 224 million rand. Out of those 457 applications received, 408 are from KZN, and then 49 are from Eastern Cape. The estimated value for the applications from KZN is sitting at 200 million rand. The dominant sectors on the applications received are basically from the agricultural sector as well as the services sector. These businesses, mostly 213 are women-owned businesses with 154 youth-owned businesses. Just a breakdown on the number of applications per district. At eThekwini, we have applications. We have got 222 applications, followed by iLembe at 64 and Ugu. It demonstrates that the impact on businesses were mostly on businesses that are operating in the coastal. We don't have any applications that we received from Umgungundlovu district as well as Amajuba district. The breakdown per district in terms of the value of applications received. We have eThekwini sitting at 223 million rand, followed by iLembe at 28 million rand. I just want to zoom into the dominant sector. Before I go there, the applications that we received, 223 were complete. So we engaged unemployed graduates to assist us in processing these applications, especially those with missing documents, where we're making calls to ensure that we receive all the documents that are required for the scheme so that we are able to process them further. In terms of the total applications amounts per sector, the services is sitting at 80 million rand, and then the agriculture sector is sitting at 75 million rand. The count, we have 157 on services, and agriculture 154, followed by the tourism sector as well as construction sector. Now, zooming into the agricultural sector per district, we have got 28 applications that are coming from eThekwini. Most of the applications on the agricultural sector are from iLembe, and then followed by eThekwini and then Alfred Nzo. In terms of the amount of the applications that were received, 37 million rand is from eThekwini, followed by iLembe and Alfred Nzo at 15 million rand. Now, the application process. We have assessed 179 applications where we are doing on-site visits to check the impact of the assessment as well as the items that are being claimed on the scheme. Out of 179 applications that we have assessed and done the on-site visits, 26 applications have been declined and 12 applications have been withdrawn. The reasons for decline is that some items being claimed for could not be verified as existed prior to the floods. And sometimes when you go there, we found that those items that are being claimed for are in working order and there's no need to repair or replace. In other instances, the items that are claimed, the amounts are inflated, so we are working on that. And also, some of the items are not covered by the scheme. I'll show what is being covered by the schemes. Like, for example, damage to buildings, the scheme particularly doesn't cover that. And 12 applications that are withdrawn were the applications for items that we found that they were covered by insurances. So those are the exercises that we do on the ground together with the practitioners. In terms of the application approval, 120 applications have already been approved to the value of 43 million rand. What we normally do here is that when we ask for the quotations, because we are not dispersing this money directly to the beneficiary. We are procuring the items that needs to be replaced or the inputs that are needed by that particular business. So those 120 applications that have been removed, that have been approved, they're totaling to 43 million rand. This figure includes 8%, so we still have to accept more applications to process. In terms of approved applications, we are aiming at sustaining about 1,306 jobs with 493 jobs from eThekwini. These are the values of the approved applications and the number of applications per district that have been approved. The sectors, mostly the sectors that have been approved for now are the agricultural sector businesses. To date, the procurement, we have done 45 purchase orders to the value of 12 million rand, 12.9 million rand. 33 payments have been completed to the value of 11 million rand. Eastern Cape is still sitting at 1.8 million rand. Just to show, to paint a picture of the kind of businesses that we are supporting. This one is from Mzinyati. It's a toilet paper manufacturing business. It had the raw materials damaged, so we've procured their inputs, raw materials, to the value of they were about 553,000 rand. This one is a twin twice tissue, also operating at Mzinyati. We've procured the raw materials for them. This picture, it's a TLB that was stuck at Inanda Dam, and when it was retrieved 2 days later, it was found that the engine control box has been damaged beyond repairs. So we are replacing that TLB. What we normally do when we replace an item, the damaged item becomes a cedar asset, which is going to be auctioned later, and then that money will come back to the pool. This is the client that a secondary co-op that operates at Herikwala that was mostly affected. We are assisting them as well. The King Cetshwayo business, that is engineering company, with the equipment that were damaged, we are busy replacing that equipment as well. This client It's a formal business. It's a goat farming, indigenous. It was grossly affected, so we are procuring the indigenous goats for them to go back to business. Herikwal again, these are the agricultural projects that have been approved, and we're busy procuring seedling and preparing fertilizer in the ground for them to be back on business. An update on the informal sector. This one is for the trade, informal traders. It is budgeted for 10 million rand, and we're estimating that we will support about 1,333 informal traders. The scheme was opened on the 29th of July, and we are closing it this Friday on the 26th of August. All the municipalities, especially LED officials, have been onboarded on this scheme, as they will be receiving the applications. We'll be getting applications through the LED officials. Once we have received those applications, that's when we are now going to do the adjudication sessions, whereby we decide which businesses and as well as the beneficiaries for this scheme. Currently, we have received about 787 just informal businesses here in the central eThekwini, and we're liaising with the small business support to make sure that we get the agencies for the agricultural fruit and veg to procure for the damaged crop that they are procuring. In summary, these are the two schemes that we are running with the criteria, just for the members to note. I thank you. Okay, thanks.
Thank you, sir. No, thank you for that presentation from SEDA. I will now immediately open up for questions of clarity from the members, and I'll start here on the left-hand side. Honorable Kalipi. Is there any other takers? Going. No one on the left. Let's go to the right. Honorable Soma, Honorable Manku, in that order, please. Honorable Kalipi.
Thank you very much, Chairperson. Thanks for the presentation, starting from the Premier. Premier, on the 12th of August 2022, we had a meeting with the Minister of Finance, whereby we were also worried as this Ad Hoc Committee in terms of the announcement of the 1 billion rand that was announced by the President of the country. And he said on that meeting, the President have called him to ask him where is 1 billion, until he called you to congratulate you on your new task as the Premier, and then you clarified the issue of 1 billion, and you have assured him that there will be movement after his call. I'm narrating this story because you spoke about things that we as committee members were also worried about. You mentioned social cycle support, which you said the DSD is providing to people who need it. I must say that, Premier, we are also in touch with people who are affected by the disaster. And we have people who have not received this support. Ogwetuge, as Mayor Kaunda said it before, that when there's a disaster, all of us, we need to work together. We must not be seen as opposing, as opposition. So with that spirit, we have on numerous occasions also proposed that under DSD, we know there is an issue of capacity. We can't deny that fact. There's an issue of lack of resources. But since the minister said on that day on record, he spoke to you and the money has started to flow in KZN, so it means there is money in KZN at the Premier's office. So I want to check with you, because silekelele le mphakathi who are very affected by the situation of losing members of the families, whom most of them, they need a counseling. And I know that in terms of the capacity of the department, as it stands now, they can't do a support to all of them. There is a social worker, roughly around 2,000 who are unemployed. With that money that is there, because of the minister said that day, can't you just look at it? One case, as I was also speaking before, to say that we have visited some family members with Ukuzeni as a Kokta MEC yesterday. There was just one family that we visited yesterday, Ward 53, Mayor Kaunda, who have lost her child. And I'm very happy because the Premier also spoke about it when we talk about search and rescue, to say that if our family members, they need to close the chapter of their loved ones. So we have asked her, counseling. This poor woman is just a youth for her age to be on this situation. She lost the child, no one knows where's the child, and she lost her husband. And in the meantime, she's still staying with the family. She was crying yesterday. She was just crying, but she was also very happy to see the MEC coming just because at this time, there's nothing much that we can do. It's just to say, we are here with you, we are still with you. We are not politicians who come only if there's a disaster. I mean, April, May, June, July, August, we still go back to them to say, and so on. So I'm saying to you, Premier, I always call you as a speaker because you were once my speaker. Jobushilo, now it is very difficult to call me an honorable member. Yes. So maybe let us look at this program, just to in terms of giving them this support. And then we will be addressing the issue of unemployment as well, because these social workers who have been trained, and also the department also contributed to them, but now they are sitting at home. Maybe, Premier, we can also sishaye inyoni ezimbili ngetshelodwa. And I'm very happy that you touch on the issue of search and rescue. Yes, akukho lula as family members to say that siyazi kwaba nezikhukhula sasilele sonke, but abantu abaphume bephila and asilithulanga ithambo lethu, as you were correctly putting it. That one. As much as I understand, Premier, the topograph that we talk about, not all houses need the retaining walls, but maybe my point that I was trying to say is that kubukeka as if since kwaba khona nezikhukhula, one of the houses that we visited, uKhuzeni, siyokhuluma ngendaba ye-burial scheme and so on, but into efike sayithola laphana kusenjalo nje. Udonga lawa from umakhelwane lawela kulomuzi wafa khona ama-members out 3 of the family, but akaze kuze kufike umuntu from the department mamkhanyile to say that okay, thina njenge department ke also ake sibone ukuthi what can we do kusayifanela nje. And you ask yourself ke ukuthi sikhuluma nge-disaster eyaba khona ya-affect ama-members of the family and so on, nomphakathi ne-society, kodwa ke where are our state departments to come ke azobona ukuthi enze njani? Ngoba some of the houses angazi noma u-MEC uKhuzeni ubonile yini. The time esenze interview neGagas, I was standing with uCouncillor Lubabala because she was there with the uKhuzeni. And kunomuzi nje olengayo, ngikhuluma nge-RDP houses la kukhona khona ne-infrastructure, but uyabona nalomuzi ukuthi nawo is a matter of time. Mase kuthiwa kufike ezinye imvula, uzowabuza uLubabala ukuthi ngabe bakhona abantu abahlala la, because uyayilengela nje uyabona ngaphansi ukuthi imvula za damage. So my point is that even if you can't put some retaining walls and what other stuff, but something must be done in order to avoid ukuthi kwenzeke lezi zinto. Unfortunately, the MEC for Economic Development is not here, but my brother was doing the presentation. I just have one a comment, and I'm sure the Premier will also assist, because if sibuka izimo zokuhlala asibuki nje sibuke inside the box. I want to get a comment from you as a department on the biggest employer in KwaZulu-Natal, noma it's eThekwini, Toyota, and we've been aware that they were affected and they're the biggest employer. So normally we are faced with what happened during this disaster, floods, and what. But there is also other factors which are contributing to this situation, which is unemployment. So if 7,000 employers of Toyota are affected because of Toyota bungakavuli, they were so much affected as an employer. So you can see if 7,000 bantu who can lose the job, it will also affect us as a city and also as KZN. So what is your role now to ensure Toyota does not apply Section 139 of the LRA? Because they can easily say that we can't afford you. So uhulumeni ulekelelapi also save umsebenzi wabantu around 7,000. I just wanted to know that. It's just that, Chairperson, I also deal on my other life. I also deal with abasebenzi. So sibalekele nendlala, because akekho umuntu ongathanda mayor ukuthi uthi uyimayor kodwa indlala idlalume. On COGTA, I don't have much, because on the meeting of the 12th of August, we interacted with COGTA National, but MEC Kuzeni, leader, what I have said before about taking issues into details, I wish you to continue to do that, because as I was saying to the Premier, we know some of the family members who have not get the support as kushiwo department is providing that support. For instance, is that case of Kapitilis. But Kuzeni, I think you must also zoom in on the Section 8 disaster management, because what I understand is that it's them as a unity who facilitated a list yabantu affected, then gebesbewaisa in different departments. If unabantu atofi list collected by disaster, and I want to understand that also they have to verify the list, knowing very well the situation on the ground. Ngingasho nami ukuthi ngi-affectekile kanti angi-affectekanga because ngiyazi ukuthi mhlambe kukhona ukuthi ezotholakala usizo. But I'm saying that ihambi lahleke. We have been raising this thing with the national disaster and asking where's the list whereby what committee members, councillors, activists submitted. Because the danger is that once you raise expectations to say, please submit your name because you are affected, and then no one comes back to you with anything. Ingathu disaster ungakwazi ukuthi ulandele ama list asuke ewaqoqile emphakathini. So the last one on housing is Ubabu Zungu was correctly said that it will be look like they were repeating what was presented by eThekwini because by a seven son. Babu Zungu, we are saying that King Echwayo Seni is completed in the Bayel and Yama shelters 40. But I want to share with you, and I don't know, it will be up to the department, MEC, doctor. How do you also coordinate the work of the department? One of these days, I was listening to one of the community radio station. I think Yasenkandla was saying that I see a joke in the billion. As a mayor of Nkandla, what happened to that billion? So I think that was at one point as well. It was our concern here until the minister came and clarified. So please check the thing, because if a mayor who's supposed to be a first line of in terms of government, ezotigwi public radio, asas luto, asas tole luto in terms, but now we are told that no, there are a temporal unity that has been provided, and according to the report, those shelters are closed and then people have been assisted. And then I want to get a clarity as well, as much as MEC spoke about it, which is very dangerous and is very, I mean, we just had to learn that one of the members of the department was gunned down, but you didn't, I mean, tell us more, not even to go to details. We are the committee, we work with people, and siyathanda ukusebenza nabantu abathanda umsebenzi. Ukuthi mhlambe what happened? Because now my colleague is from Free State, she's very, she's very afraid now. Ukuthi Mkhalipha, I mean, KZN sethiwa niyabulalana, so it means I must not question things. But in a serious note, MEC, maybe share with us in order to understand what happened. Ngoba ngizwe no Babu Zungu esho ukuthi wayekade addressa abantu ngoba that's what we also emphasizing, that our departments must go to people and explain to people ngizohlala emahholo kuzobe yinini, iluphi usizo oluzayo and so on. But if you are receiving bad news to say that one of our employees was gunned down while we were addressing or while we were on the line of duty, that is very disturbing. Kuya kulento ke khuzeni ukuthi ekseni mina nawe size saye emhlanganweni siyo address indaba yo family yakabuthelise ngayithola ngemali. And the premier ukhuzeni wanted some details ukuthi no, uhulumeni ukhiphile imali yokulekelela imember yefamily but imali ayifikanga. But there were also disturbing news from those funeral parlors members who were there. Ukhuzeni uze wathi no, I don't want to entertain this because I have said what needs to happen as a way forward. But they were uttering something that is very disturbing, saying that that family must not think that they have hit the jackpot. It was very disturbing for me. A funeral parlor who claimed on behalf of the family, and the family member and the families didn't receive the money from the intervention of government. And when we question that, as abantu abafuna ukulandela imali, yabantu abahluphekayo, and then a person from the funeral parlor article and a member, a family must also remember that they didn't get a jackpot or hit a jackpot. That is very disturbing because we are asking a simple question. 40,000 is an intervention from Hulmeni, and then when these members, this funeral parlor didn't have correct papers, so they came to me. And then when they came to you, suthathu 9,000 wako from 40,000. Usahambisa kulo sibili na usazohlephula yakhe ingxenye. Shuthi family members ogcina ithole malini. And then when we question that, no, please tell us, we are talking about people abalahlekelwe la. 3 members of the family, we are still dealing with that situation. Uzositshela ukuthi now family members, they must know that they didn't hit the jackpot. So it means that if people they can be killed while they're on the line of duty, so it means we are going to be killed like that. We can't question things on behalf of the poor people who are voiceless, the chairperson, because we are representing people who can't represent themselves. But we can be told in that manner that how we told in the morning is very scary. So I'm just raising that as well, Chair, because we're in Parliament. So the last one from the Department of Housing, maybe Babu Zungu just share with us, is the alternative proposal, whereby you talk about, I don't know, where's Babu Zungu? Or where you talk about your, I don't know, the partnership with Itala Bank in terms of rentals and what. I think one of the members in this committee spoke about it to check with you. Good, as much as we are providing, you are providing alternative intervention in terms of the department. So let us look at also other alternative while Ubabu Counter said, hey, those things of getting a Loma flats who are being hijacked and so on, those matters end up in court. But I see you on the presentation, you also have an alternative proposal which also includes Itala Bank. Please provide more clarity in order for us to have more understanding. Thank you very much, Chair.
The Honourable Lesoma.
Honourable Chair, within the spirit of corporate governance and harmony and peace, I would like some points that have been raised by Honourable Mkhaliphi to agree with. At least now all of us are on the same page in terms of restoration of people's lives that have been affected by the floods. That's one, Chair. 2, Chair, what I'm going to raise, it's a carryover from the engagement with other departments at a national level and the KZN province. Sub of that, Chair, will say, let's appreciate and welcome a consistent in terms of KZN presenting in this committee. In terms of being detailed and also point to, straight to the point, we are not applauding the fish to swim, but it's because it's swimming properly. I know Honorable Hussein did say that and he left after that. Chair, that point is that in terms of CEDA, fortunately we did receive this report when we were meeting with the National Department. One is that are the requirements of our people benefiting from the floods relief in terms of small and informal and formal businesses have been relaxed so that they benefit from the lessons that we learned from COVID-19, the social relief. There was 200 billion that was given to the mainline bank industries, financial industries, and our people, majority of them, they didn't benefit there because we had no control and no say in terms of requesting them to relax their requirements in terms of compliance and all that. Hence, the mainline business communities did benefit on that. This time around on floods, are we sure that the intended affected majority of our communities will benefit on that? In particular, the informal business sector, because they would not have any records and so forth. There's lots of limitations in terms of compliance and all that. Notwithstanding what has been said in terms of the rejections and also those ones which are pending and on-site verification of the damage. 4, Chair, the transitional accommodation, I hope, Chair, from the experience that I had, is that sometimes we build those transitional accommodation for our communities, but it ends up to be a long-term one. This time around, are we going to ring fence those plans and the budget to ensure that April 2022 flood victims, they do benefit the actual ones after verifications and other things? Fifthly, Chair, around economic empowerment of our communities. I hope, Chair, with the assistance also of the AG and also with the assistance of DPME, which they still owe us the metrics, by the way, because we wouldn't have had this meeting if the metrics from DPME would have received it by today. But the point I'm driving at is to ensure that the 30-day policy understanding still apply here, so that they don't, people and business communities or service providers that they build these TRUs, houses and permanent houses, they go to the file 19 in terms of their invoices. And file 19 doesn't exist in government. The last one, Chair, all these questions, they will go through the Premier and relevant MECs, Chair, but it's comment some of my points here. The second last one, I know that in our engagement with the Treasury, did say that the money is starting to flow to KZN, but he did appreciate that is not enough. Can the Premier and the MEC Finance or Treasury, yes, Treasury, ensure that they assist the municipalities to make sure that the paper tray and the submission of the requirements so that they can get that money and redirect those funds to the original plans that were earmarked to be spent on? The last one, Chair, is the issue appreciating the report and what we're going to also to confirm tomorrow and on Thursday, is the communication. Government doesn't communicate. We did suggest in our last engagement with DPME to say that they must have a close heart-to-heart engagement with the GCIS. Because some of the things that is alleged that government is doing nothing, here as members we are saying that we are seeing a positive direction in terms of implementations. But the communities outside, they still create a perception without explaining as government. And I'm saying that I would suggest that the KZN, through your good self, Premier, through your chairperson, is that, can you look at that? How do you package it? At least the same info when we're engaging and communicating with our communities during COVID-19. Thank you so much.
The last one is the Honorable Manku.
Thank you, Chair. Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Lisa Mangu. Even in the afternoon, it has not changed. Chair, I think one thing that I found missing, Premier and MEC Zikalala, was this, a sort of an account of saying you received so much money, for instance, for roads, rural roads, how much of those rural roads have been rehabilitated or whatever you wanted to do the money, or you wanted to use that money for. And I don't think one can expect it now, but I think it will be something that could help us, especially when we go to meet the AG or Treasury again, to be able to check if that money, it's not just coming, but it has been spent where it was supposed to be spent. That's the first thing. I'm suggesting that if we could get that update, it will be appreciated. The area that is of concern to me, the presentation was not done by the province, was done by CEDA, but I think is the small business development. We are aware that as of 31 July, about 60 million was expended through CEDA, through the national department. But if I recall well, Executive Mayor Kaunda was saying that the money they've used was mainly for some infrastructure of small businesses. There was no mention, if I recall very well, of any assistance going to those informal traders and small businesses. And yet when you listen to CEDA, they seem to be saying so many applications, so many are approved. It gives me an impression that there is no link between CEDA, the province, and the municipality, particularly the metro, to be able to have a report that the Premier can own as a province, wherever that money would have come from. It should be able, in my view, to be accounted for in that area. So it's a question, but also a comment and observation as to what could have happened in that area. But lastly, Chair, I think, again, it would be fair also to agree with the colleagues that saying KZN has been very consistent. There's been leadership from the front. Even when you listen to national departments reporting, when they report about KZN with or without their presence, the report is always consistent. And I think that needs to be appreciated. Agriculture and rural development, KZN received as at end of July around 262 million. I did not pick up any of the presentations talking about agriculture. Could we perhaps hear what that money would have been used for if it was received? There was a little bit of agriculture on the CEDA presentation. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Honourable Member. I will now hand over to the Honourable MEC.
Thanks, Honourable Chair. I requested to speak first because I've requested to leave because of other issues. And there are a few issues directed to us as COGTA. And I'll take one issue that I requested to explain from MSc Human Settlement, Dr. Mahlaba. One, the issue of the disaster. In KwaZulu-Natal, we have the disaster, a provincial disaster management center. It coordinates with districts and the metro. And the metros are coordinating with wards, which are led by councillors. And in each ward, we have OSS, which is Operation Suguma Sake, working together with ward committees. we might have not done enough to ensure that the list are consolidated fairly, but I think what we have is a product that reflects the submission from wards. And that's what we then, as COGTA, having received from municipalities, get submitted to other departments like social development that needs to come in to provide psychosocial support and other things. So we will continue to strengthen the work. I'm not undermining the point raised. We'll continue to strengthen the work, but I must say that institutions and systems are properly in place. The issue of the list, I think it's clear, it is comprehensive throughout in each district and in each metro. Now, I wouldn't want to speak about the 1 billion per se, but I would want to speak about the mayor. Because the mayor, you know, it happens that we come from political organizations. And at some point, because of the environment, we would want to disassociate ourselves with structures that are responsible. All mayors have been constantly briefed through the Premier's coordinating forum and through the Munimec. And all of them are part of the process. They've been taken through. If there will be a mayor who will say he disown what have been submitted, for instance, Umlalazi was assisted by the very same process of the provincial government to get support, repair bridges and roads. All municipalities were assisted to make applications for grants as expected. Now, I think that's what was expected from COGTA. The last point, or the last but one, yes, I think Honorable Mkhaliphi, you are correct. We take a dim view from that statement. If I may maybe brief members, there've been a report that one family was alleged or was reported, or they reported that they've buried 3 members who passed on during floods. It was raised by Honorable Mkhaliphi during the debate when the President addressed, and during the follow-up debate when Minister Dr. Nkosazana Dlamini Zuma appeared in front of the committee. We have taken up the matter and we have dealt with the matter together with Honorable Mkhaliphi, but with Councillor Nobabalwa Mthembu Zondi, as well as the local councillor. And when we met this morning, it happened that one who represented the funeral parlor questioned that the family benefited correctly because they were having their own burial scheme, umasingcwabisane. So they benefited from that. And then they also have now to get the money that is the reimbursement. So it was unfortunate that this guy said the family is like thinking that they are getting a jackpot. I think we need to ensure that we continue to educate each other on these things. Lastly, the incident that happened was very unfortunate. It is Mr. Cele, Mr. Snow Cele, and some will know Snow Cele from Chesterville. He has been part of the structures of the liberation movement in particular. And he was employed in Department of Human Settlement. He went to Ntuzuma. It will be remembered that during floods, the last area to be visited by President was Ntuzuma. And in that area, there are people who are housed in one of the community care centers. So he went there as part of social facilitation to link those people who are in that community care center with a particular portion of the area that they are going to, their houses will be built on. So on his way out, he was stopped in what appears to be like a criminal activity, car hijack. He was stopped in the T-junction and he was shot and he died there. It's one of the unfortunate incidents that also continues to create fear among workers who are tasked with this responsibility. I thought I will add on that part only, but thank you, Chair. I believe I've reported in this committee for several times. I can be excused. Thank you.
No, thank you, Honorable MEC. You've been very consistent right from the outset, even in your previous capacity, to honor your commitments, whether it is here in Durban, elsewhere, Johannesburg, virtual platforms. So thank you very much. You've really carried the banner of your province, and you are excused. I will now hand over to the MEC for Human Settlements, and then thereafter the Honorable Premier.
Thank you very much, Chair. Greetings again, honorable members. One, I think it was more of comments because on the question, MEC Zigalala has covered the incident of Mr. Cele. On the issue of King Cetshwayo, I think 52 TRUs were built, and 32 of those TRUs are at Umlalas. So there has been work in that district as well. And then the other comment was around the issue of communication. I agree. I think if there is no proper communication, people get agitated. And that is one area that you are going to improve. And the Premier has been very clear that we need to make sure that we respond promptly, especially to those who are housed in these mass shelters. Because if we don't do so, it then brings negative publicity. There was another one which I think I will get information also from Honorable Mkhalipi about the houses that are not in a good state and that were visited with the walls that are about to fall. That is something that we'll need to follow up with the team. I think it's just those that were directed to me. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Honorable MEC. Honorable members, there were certain questions that were directed towards SEDA, which is the Small Enterprise Development Agency. I'm not going to give them a chance to respond. The Premier is the last person who will respond, because those matters are issues that we can follow up ourselves. I'm not sure even if they have a response. The Toyota is not part of SEDA. That will be trade and industry related, so we will follow up on those matters. So just please bear with us. Over to you, Madam Premier.
Thank you, Honourable Chairperson. Yes, indeed, unfortunately, the report from SEDA was not shared with us. The matters that have been raised by honourable members, I do appreciate all of them, and I also do appreciate the wise counselling from honourable members that we should probably be with people at all times. What we've actually done, we have allocated MECs to different shelters. So it might happen that people don't see me, but they see another MEC. So we've divided ourselves so that at least it's not too much for one MEC or two MECs. So all of us, we've said, you take care of these wards, you take care of these wards. So at all given time, we do try. In fact, we've been also organizing a prayer for those families that have not even found their loved ones. That, again, to make sure that we are with them, just to show that we are with them at all times. Of course, I do agree that probably we need to do that more, but also our belief is that we also have councillors and local structures that are even quite closer to those community members. DSD indeed has not received any cent or any allocation. As you would have heard from the Mr. Ngema, that they made an application through the Cocteau Disaster Management Center, and it was said that their request does not fall within the Disaster Management Center disaster response, and they were then referred to DSD National. We were also hoping that if National Disaster Center is not able to help them, probably the National Treasury through this immediate relief, a grant that we are supposed to get. But what we have been told by the National Treasury is that we need to show that there's no money before we can get anything. And we've shown through the disaster center that indeed DSD and all other departments have exhausted even their own funds. And the matter of the psychosocial support, we will also follow up, honorable members, to make sure that at least everyone does get that support. We will, I've taken the note that it is Ward 53, but also probably we need to also follow up and check. I want to say, honorable members, that we've been working with the national department in the presidency, the monitoring and evaluation department. We've been working with them in terms of them following up to see whether we are covering everybody, whether we're doing everything that we're supposed to do, but also what they've done, they created a dashboard that also where people can raise their issues, but also to see whether whatever matters that have been raised have been responded to. So they've had a technology that has been used by DSD, so that every time they visit the shelter, they then send a report through to the MNE in the presidency, working, of course, with the DG in the province. So we have tried at all times to just make sure that we cover all the space. However, we do agree that probably we need to do more. Toyota, they opened, they officially opened, okay, they opened beginning of the month, but they did an official opening of the factory last week, and all the workers are now back at work, and they've resumed all their cars, the manufacturing for their cars. We also got a report, as we've always been in touch with them, that even though the workers were not at work, they were getting some half of their salary, because the workers were also involved in the cleaning up operation. So they were getting paid, but also the tiers were applied for. They haven't got all of them, but so the company has been helping the workers just to ensure that at least it's not dark as it was. And they've assured us as the province, in my meeting with them, that they will be ramping up. We've got a new, there's a new car that was given to us last year, December, by the board in Japan. Because we motivated that we were capable of manufacturing the one other car for distribution in Europe, so they gave it to us. Unfortunately, it got disturbed. They had started, but it got disturbed because of floods, but they're now resuming, and we're hoping that they'll be able to cover losses in terms of the orders that were there in Europe in particular, and in other countries, but Africa was not affected much because their production was in a different area. but the other areas that were flooded got affected. I think the MEC Cocta spoke about Inkandla, a matter. The matter of a funeral parlor, honorable member, it has been a sad situation. I want to be honest with you, because what happened is that some funeral parlors went to take the bodies without telling anybody that they have bodies. So we had to try and trace, and only to find that some bodies were with funeral parlors that were not allocated to them, and other people had their own burial schemes, and some funeral parlors were taking our money, government money, and the burial scheme, and. So we've had to follow that up to try and see so that communities are reimbursed, those that had burial schemes. They must be reimbursed, but also they must get their share that they were supposed to have been allocated to from that support that was there in government. So I think that talk, people must not think, in fact, it's them that thought they had a jackpot, because the way they were behaving, it's really, some of them, it was not good. Well, the Treasury, I just want to indicate, honorable members, the monies that the province has received so far has been the Human Settlement Development Grant, the Informal Settlement Grant, Upgrade Partnership Grant, and those were grants that were front-loaded, because those were grants that were already allocated to human settlement, so they were not new money. So they would have used maybe that money for the whole year, but then they were front-loaded, meaning whatever work that was in the business plan of human settlement had to be shelved, and they have to shelve other projects to use this money. The same went for the Provincial Emergency Housing Grant, which was another grant that we received, the one that has been used for the TRUs, as well as the Municipal Disaster Response Grant. So there is no new money that has been received, except for those, because for Department of Transport, Department of Education, and which is the other one, the health, all of those departments were asked to reprioritize from their own baselines. From the National Disaster Management Fund, in terms of what the National Treasury has processed, has been funds for Reinkonyeni Municipality, and Msunduzi Local Municipality, Umkambatini, Ilembe, Inkosi Langalebalele, Alfred Duma, KwaDukuza. Those are the municipalities that had received the water infrastructure grant, that's your WSIC, as well as the MIG from the national. Again, those were front-loaded because those were already in the budget for those municipalities. So again, there's no new money that has been received. The reprioritization that departments have been doing, they have done the reprioritization, and we've gone back to National Treasury to say, look, we've done the reprioritization, now there's nothing else to reprioritize from. And the National Treasury has then said they will then assess the applications and the business plans that were sent. Initially, what they said was that we should have divided the applications into 3. And unfortunately, we did not know that. We only thought we had 1 billion anyway. So that's why we submitted 1. Only after we submitted that we were told, no, apply for immediate relief, apply for medium relief, apply for long-term relief. And all of those, immediate relief is what I've already spoken about. Medium relief, it's already what I've spoken about, reprioritizing from the baseline. Long term, maybe in the MTF, there might be something that gets allocated. You would know, honorable members, that we were told that for the whole country, there's not more than 5 billion over the MTF for the whole country for disasters. So probably that's why National Treasury is still looking at how else they should deal with the matters of allocating any other that needs to be allocated. So I do think that so far, honestly, the departments have tried their level best, to be quite honest. Even the human settlement, you know, they took a bold step by getting that front loading, because it means whatever projects, all the housing projects that they had planned, even in their business plan or even in their key performance areas, those have got to be revised. As a result, we are taking to the, we're going to be taking to the legislature during the midterm budget, the revised numbers now, that we must remove all the projects that initially were passed in the budget and now put these ones that have come through the disaster, and then shelve everything that would have been done for this financial year to the next financial year, because those are the only monies that were made available. Yes, the minister has been, indicating that there are these different grants that are available, and as I indicated, that there is the 1 billion was for the whole country, for all the provinces, because the disasters were not for only one province, was for all the provinces. And in terms of that, I think Mr. Bengu and which is human settlement, and COCTA, they did indicate as to where those monies have been spent in terms of the temporary shelters that we spoke about earlier, as well as the municipalities that are already indicated, those monies coming from the Municipal Disaster Response Grant. Those are the only monies that have had been, and the monies that went to these municipalities are the applications that went from the national disaster to the National Treasury. And the National Treasury has then been dispensing those funds. Other than that, there are no other funds that, or new money, to use the language, that has been received or, by any of the departments. Thank you, honorable members.
No, thank you very much, Honourable Premier, and also thank you for availing yourself, as well as the other MECs, to be here today with us for the better part of today. It's in the spirit of cooperative governance, and also is in the spirit of being held accountable and being transparent with what is happening, that you have done so. And we really value the information that you have shared with us and also clarified some of the matters that is there. The committee, in producing its report, will take all these presentations into account and will make all the relevant recommendations to both houses of parliament, since it is a joint committee. And I whispered earlier to my co-chairperson, the Honourable Nyambi, who unfortunately quickly had to leave the session to chair a virtual session of the Council of Provinces, that there is a window of opportunity, Premier, that is availing itself when the MTBPS is going to be tabled by the Minister of Finance. And I would really urge colleagues, and we'll distribute an updated program for us to conclude our input as soon as possible. We cannot wait for the mandate to expire until the end of November, because then the horse is bolted. Then you can't do anything around that. So we will have to put in more time, additional work, so that we finalize the report of this committee so that it can be tabled in Parliament, so that there where the money is needed. I've always expressed my concern, Honourable Premier, the Executive Mayor, the Mayor, in terms of reprioritization. because there's expectations that were created with the original allocation that was made. Now, when you reprioritize, you take money away from those identified projects and you divert it towards where really there is a need for that. We've also raised this issue with the National Treasury, and we said that if need be, we must seriously look at how the government respond in terms of financial relief to provinces and municipalities when natural disasters do occur. Because the current system that we have is not tailor-made for the type of relief that is immediately required. And that will also be factored into our report and recommendations that will be submitted to Parliament. But thank you very much for your presence, and I wish you well in the further execution of this very important work that you are not doing for yourselves. You're doing it for the people out there who deserve a better life. Thank you very much. I now want to invite the CEO of the Council for Geoscience to come and make his presentation. It's Mr. Mabuza. Yes, you may be excused. You're also welcome to stay with us if you want to, but we understand you have other responsibilities. Thank you very much. Thank you. How are you, sir?
I'm well, how are you,
Good,
sir?
good, thank you.
Excellent.
Over to you,
We've got
sir.
a presentation. We've got a presentation.
Okay, are you going to,
I'm
you'll do
going
the
to
intro
do-
forward and
Yeah.
then you will do the presentation?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Oh yes, Premier and the Mayor is still here. As you are leaving, we need the presence of officials tomorrow when we go and do the site visits. It has been communicated where we're going to. In different parts of the province, we're going to Ugu municipality, then we're coming back to Tequini, and then we need the assistance of the officials who can take us around and accompany us on these visits. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Chair.
Where's the
Connect.
is it HDMI?
Yeah, this one. That's it. No, it's not. Is it typing? Oh, there we are. All right. Thank you very much, Chair. Good afternoon to honorable members and the entire leadership of the province. My name is Musa Mabuza. I'm the CEO of the Council for Geoscience, and we want to express our sincere appreciation, Chair, for inviting us. And for us, we think the most important thing is that when we are beginning to bring science as the basis for choices that we make as a nation, it is absolutely a quantum leap in how we do things as a nation. And the extent
presentation was very scientific. Maybe we may miss to understand some of the concepts covered because of the technicalities. But my one question is regarding to the municipalities that are prone to disasters. Have you made contact with them so that you are able to advise them as to how they can deal with the disasters for a long-term solution? I can imagine that many municipalities, they want to provide short-term solutions. And like what the chair is saying, that leads to a process whereby infrastructure gets to be damaged now. 5 years later, the same problem occurs and the same amount of money needs to be spent again. So instead of you waiting for the municipalities, you waiting for the municipalities, are you approaching municipalities as a council? Thank you.
Honorable Asoma.
Asibonge sihlalo. Siyamkele ngezandla zombili, izandla zidlula ikhanda. It's in the afternoon. I've been speaking English since the morning. Don't look at me like that. Chair, let's welcome the technical scientific presentation. But on a serious note, if we had this presentation before we went for our oversight, we would have empowered some of the municipalities, in particular in Northwest, Chair. You will recall that there was a sort of a very polite disagreement in terms of the technical challenges, in terms of where those communities are situated. Somebody was saying that there's a rock underneath, so in between the surface and the rock, there's water there. So timelessly, even during rainy days, they do flood those areas. But the other gentleman who was wearing a jumpsuit, the executive mayor jumpsuit, was saying also, no, technically my officials, there's a certificate which we're still looking forward to get a certificate. But the point I'm driving at, we would have been better empowered to argue with them technically so. That's one, and I'm welcoming the presentation, by the way. Two is that, Chair, if you are not doing that commission, the issue of creating an awareness in terms of your role and partnering with the municipality or provincial government in particular, to ensure that indirectly you would also educating the communities, because we are here where we are because of ignorance. But abantu bambaya pupa bepupiswa ukungazi kodwa bebona emehlweni. It will go a long way. And I think as we going to conclude our work, Chair, some of the areas that will ask the various oversighting bodies in Parliament to pick up the points and also have a presentation of this sort, which then will assist in the long-term planning, and also how do we then get a technical advice than having wishes politically, but that would be hindered by the material conditions that you would have avoided. Thank you very much.
Honorable Mangu.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Babu Mabuza. Now, our country, we have seen in many instances where you say people don't do, they go. The environmentalists have found a way of legislating. People are even scared to remove reeds or even an ant hill because they might be taken to task and fined and arrested. Is there provision in your legislation that can give you the teeth to enforce in the form of fines, either individuals or a municipality or a province, should they go against a warning, whatever the case may be? If not, is it something that you think can assist us so that we are forced to protect ourselves going into the future? Now, secondly, is the issue of, you spoke about water levels, rocks, and the Northwest example keeps on coming back. I'm not sure if you are also able to determine flood lines in terms of what is likely to happen in terms of flood lines. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Mr. Mabuza.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, honourable members. Chair, your observation is spot on. We were deployed to Port St. John's post facto, and our assessment was precisely in sync with your observation. That area needs serious attention. The municipality has been very responsive and welcoming. So we had deployed scientists there. The first report will table to them soon. And I think you let me just see if people who settle in a pen, we call it a floodplain. So obviously if you put up infrastructure of any sort, whether it's RDP or shacks in a floodplain, all it needs is to rain for 5 minutes, then there will be disaster in that area. And we cannot as a country afford to be putting up infrastructure without due consideration of what the future looks like. And so it will link to a question, do we have teeth at the moment? No. At the moment, we are providing just an advisory function, and advice is exactly that. You give me advice, I may or may not take it. And so there's no obligation on anybody to have due consideration for geotechnical studies prior, other than those areas where there has been trouble, like the dolomitic terrains. I think dolomite covers less than 1% of the country. Those are the only areas where there's an obligation, nowhere else. So we were lucky in that one of the former executive mayors joined the board of Council for Geoscience. And when we were doing induction, in 2 days they looked at what we do, and this is after their tenure. After 2 days of induction, the worship came to me and said, you know, I've always known this building in Silverton, but I've always known it as the building next to the forensics. And what really got to me was when he said, if I had known what you do, I would have been a much better mayor. I would have done much more to serve in my role. And then it touches to our communication and brand and so on. But we are not and shouldn't operate like the private sector. And so how do you balance that? In the past 5 years, we've really done an incredible work for the CGS at least to be known on what we do. We're not quite there yet, but I think that there are many more people who know about the Council for Geoscience today than they did before. That's part of the reason we are here today. The chair looked and found out that we exist and invited us here. He would not have found us anywhere before. So are we there yet? Not quite, but we're trying to be deliberate in that regard. So Honorable Zungula, we try. We are not always successful. We try and knock at doors. The Northern Cape and Free State provinces, the human settlement, they've done something unprecedented before. For their low housing RDP development program, they've approached us to do the study on their behalf prior to construction. And that has really been an amazing thing that we have not seen anywhere else in the country. And we understood the importance of building houses, and we needed to shorten the science period so that it does not compromise on the delivery of housing programs. So in those two provinces and certain municipalities have been more responsive than others. Unfortunately, fewer have been more responsive. The large part of municipalities where we see red have not been particularly responsive when we knock at their doors. Should we take the environmentalist approach? I don't know. I'll be guided. But I did learn sometime that sometimes when you want people to change, make it impossible for them not to change. So sometimes. So I don't know. Maybe that's an approach. I think, Honorable Lisuma, you gave us and share with us wisdom on what we can do to enhance the awareness about the work that we do together with others. But what I will say is that there are various infrastructure development structures in the country. I think the last one is that ISA that is headed by Dr. Ramokgopa and ISAIS. And so he's come to us and he's working with CSIR and the Department of Human Settlement and the province of KZN. And the idea is to develop an early warning system using all different attributes, geology being one, raining patterns, geomorphology, and a whole range of layers, and develop a model that will give an indication and send an early warning system so that if a disaster is coming, the alarms will go off and hopefully we can save a lot of lives. It's still at concept level. I can imagine it's going to be a very difficult task. But in the short term, what we can do is we can say, please let's not develop a country infrastructure as though we have no idea what we're doing. A flood, I think there was a question around flood lines, whether we are able to determine the flood lines. Dr. Antod, can you come and assist me on the flood lines? This young lady chairs Dr. Takani Ntodi. She is also part of the CJS delegation. Dr. Malibongo indeed.
Good afternoon, Chair, and good afternoon, honorable members, and good afternoon to all the colleagues. As far as floodlines are concerned, there are two types of floodlines mainly. So we have those that can be for an overall region, and there are those that can be for specific development. Now, if we want to zone in for specific development, usually this is work that is carried out by engineers, particularly civil engineers. But what we do at Council for Geoscience is we provide the information, so whether it's geology, it's geotech, that will influence the type of information that will go into a model of determining a floodline. So I think the short answer to the question is directly no, but we do produce information that is used as an input to developing the floodlines. Thank you.
Thank you, Doctor. I think that's covered. Thank you very much.
Now, thank you very much to the Council for Geoscience for this very, very important and very interesting presentation that has been made. Very often when these type of natural disasters, Honorable Mayor, hits us, We make as if we are lost. We don't have the people who can advise us. We don't know what to do next. And here they are, right? And it's a question of mandate, right? It's a question of mandate. And we will definitely have a look, and members will, it's food for thought for them, how they see this important presentation, how it can be incorporated into future development, so that when we make recommendations to Parliament, that we also consider the presentation that has been made by the Council for Geoscience. In the long run, it will save the country a lot of money if we take informed decisions. Informed decisions. And with climate change that is happening, the question of mitigation and adaptation will continuously come in play, but you cannot exercise those decisions unless you are properly informed as to what to do next and where to do it. Very much, President. We'll certainly on you for now, and we'll call you there also to come and make an input there with the South African Weather Service. Honourable members, it brings us to the end of today's proceedings. I will request Nola just to make a few announcements in terms of what time we're leaving the hotel tomorrow. There's a few site visits. Now, we have visited these sites before, and we said we're coming back to KZN, amongst others, to go back there to see what has been done and what the plans of the municipality is in implementing the corrective action that is being required. So that will be very important for us. We will be traveling to the Ugu District Municipality, where we'll go and visit the two bridges, one in Valley Road and the other one in, I can't get, Centenary Street. And then after that, on our way, we will have 1 or 2 stops as we go towards Verulam, and also the Tongaat water treatment works, where extensive damage has been caused by the floods. Nola, over to you.
Thank you, Honorable Chairperson. Just briefly, tomorrow morning, the delegation will be traveling from the hotel exactly at 7 o'clock, because it takes about 2 hours to get to Port Shepstone. So exactly at 7 o'clock, the delegation is moving from here. We will be making use of the escort. So if any of the officials from the KZN province, the Metro, and any other organization that's in the house would like to also join us, they're more than welcome to join the convoy going towards Port Shepstone. Thank you, Chair.
May I also request the committee's secretariat just to send the latest program with the updated site visits. It's actually on our way back that we will stop, amongst other. There was road construction that was happening in around Amanzimtoti, Umlazi, and also I didn't have the opportunity with other members last time to go to there's a site in Mdloti, so that we can incorporate that on our way towards the northern part of the province. So that will be included, Honourable Mayor. Thank you very much, Honourable Mayor, for your presence, and also the Deputy Executive Mayor who joined us, as well as the EXCO councillors who have been here. It's only by working together that we can do a lot more for our people. Thank you very much, and the meeting is adjourned.